Good morning. Hey, let's get going right off the bat here. Grab your foam roller. And we're going to use the foam roller for friction today. So we're going to use it on the lower leg primarily. All through everything below the knee, definitely the lateral calf. We're also going to go after the fibular head just a little bit. And I'm looking around here because if you have either a trigger point ball or a gua sha tool, that's G-U-A-S-H-A. If you're looking to see what that's about, you can research it. They will work a little bit better on that fibular head. The fibular head is a shock absorber for the lower leg. So no matter what sport you want to play, or no matter what sport you're playing, having that mobile will be really, really important. So what I typically will do is take my little gua sha tool and I'll just work away from the knee, just a little bit down the fibularis muscles. They used to be called the peroneals, and we just kind of do some light scraping of the skin. So remember, the layers kind of go skin, fascia, muscle, or skin, fascia, bone. So we need that to glide. So here on Mobility Monday, we can't ignore the gliding. And so the fibular head, what I'll usually do is grab the bone and move it around just a little bit. It should not move much. It just kind of attaches right into a nice shallow junction there. And it should move. And it is the shock absorber in the lower leg. The tibia can bend a little bit, and anybody that has a titanium rod through their tibia knows that they are missing that little bit of natural shock absorption that we get in the lower leg from bone, because bone can flex, right? So gonna just glide through both sides of the fibularis. I can't not say they used to be called the peroneals. I don't know why they changed it, other than it makes sense. So working through that lateral calf with the gua sha, and working really in that little specific junction of the fibular head, okay? So if you don't have the gua sha yet, I do suggest you get one because it's really good for quad tendon. It's pretty nice for a patellar tendon. I use it on the retinaculum right in the ankle. It's a good little tool and you can travel with it. I throw it in my backpack, okay? So you take your foam roller, work through the skin. If you're in my premium strength group, we did this on Saturday in our live session. Hopefully y'all had a great weekend. I know I did. So this, getting everything gliding, helps hydrate the tissue, and it also helps movement, right? So we always say, if the feet ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, and that's true of all sports. Even something like rowing, where you're not standing, you're sitting, you want that lower leg, that's where everything kind of starts. So we've got everything gliding through the lower leg really nicely. You should feel that skin be really supple. You ask a lot of really experienced body workers, immediately upon touching tissue, they know whether or not that tissue is hydrated, recovered, stressed. Tissue tells us a pretty big story. All right, so welcome to Mobility Monday. You always know if you come a little bit early, we're going to get a couple of nuggets in place. Today it was about getting the skin, fascia, and muscle, or skin, fascia, and bone gliding, right? So that's the beauty of the body, the human body. It really does want to move. It wants to move. So we're going to get into this half kneeling 90-90 position. Half kneeling 90-90, and we're going to go right for the big daddy. We're going to take a big reach through the arm. So we're at half kneeling 90-90. We want to be straight through the elbow. I want tension in the fingertips. Just a nice big reach. You should feel tension through the armpit, through the lat, maybe a little through the rib cage. All right? Same thing other side. This is improving the size and the ability of your movement bubble, right? So just a nice big reach through the fingertips. Reach for the sky. And good. Let's go right back to the other side. We're going to add a little bit of rotation. So the first side, right knee down. We're not loading the hips yet. We're just 90-90 half kneeling. Straight up, and then we're gonna rotate towards that down leg. I put my hand on the inside here. We're just gonna make sure that that knee doesn't follow. Keep it nice and wide. Up, up, up. Reach up. Definitely feeling tension in the obliques. Right through here. That's kind of what we're after. That oblique, this adductor. Good. And then come back and unload that tissue. So that tissue just went under tension and then it came out of tension. So we upregulated the nervous system and then regulated. So again, let's take left hand on the inside of left knee. We're not going to need that to go too far. We're going to reach straight up, tension in that lateral line through the lat, and then we're going to rotate, reach up. Don't reach down here. Reach as high as you can. And then come right back. Good. Okay, same thing, right? It doesn't have to be these big sexy movements. They just need to be big movements. And the more intention we have in our movement, the better results over time we're gonna get. Okay, right knee up, right hand on the inside of the knee. We always wanna pull the ribs off the hips, reach that arm straight up, and then rotate. And see if you can get this oblique. And good. Okay, go ahead and stand up. We're going to go into a split stance right here. 50-50 weight distribution. Hands on your hips. And I'm going to come right at you on this one. We want to take, let's make sure your right leg is in front of left. Okay, so get your right leg in front of left for cueing, it matters. We're going to just forward lean a little bit. Push the hips back a little bit. So we're doing both of those. Hips back, chest drops just a little bit. We're going to take that back hip, rotate it right across towards mid-thigh on the right. And we're just going to open that up. There's that open we just did from the 90-90. And then we drop it in. And we don't have to drop too far. 3. Now, next thing you're going to start to feel that you want to anchor. You want to drive into the ball joint of the big toe on the right leg. So open the hips, close the hips. Open the hips, close the hips. I don't even need you to find end range. I just need you to be able to move. And your hands are locked down on your hips because when your hips stop moving, I want your upper body to stop moving as well. So even though it can keep going, don't do that. Maintain the integrity of that box. Hips and shoulders. Okay? And that just made sure that we had internal rotation on the right hip. So right here, we're in external rotation of the right hip. All these muscles out here, all these glutes, are in a shortened position. We drop down and in. We activate the internal rotators on the right hip, and they signal the lateral aspect of the hip to go long or to lengthen. Okay? Left leg in front of right. Anchor into the ball joint of the big toe on the left leg. Pull the ribs off the hips. Little bit of push the hips back, and we're just rotating straight across. Open the hip. That's the left hip we're working. 2. Good. Got a little crack out of the ankle. 3. We only need to do 4 or 5. Once you get it moving, you know you're good. I'm good because I do this all the time. If you feel like you can't get that back hip towards the midline while anchoring here, I want you to spend more time foam rolling the back of the hip. It's the foam roller move that most people do more often than not. Okay? Next thing, we're going to use the double arm relaxed position. A lot of strength coaches call this the prisoner position. It doesn't really resonate with me, but this does. It's the relaxed position. All right? So 2 elbows. I don't want you to be able to see your elbows. So if your elbows are here, you can see them with your peripheral vision. Open them up. All right? So as soon as they're opened up, we're going to push the hips back and come back to the front. Push the hips back and come back to the front. Keep the chest up. 3, keep the elbows back. 4, just doing 5. And right there, as the hips push back, you should feel high hamstring on that lead leg, okay? Same thing on this other side. Arms go into double arm relax. Nice neutral position down the middle. Push the hips back. 1, keep the chest up. This is really forcing us into spinal extension. 2, 3, 4, holding that chest nice and tall. And 5. Good. If you're a cyclist or if you spent all weekend working, that's going to feel a little more challenging than if you didn't, right? So tightness on the front side of the body will inhibit function on the back. All right, let's go back to left leg in front. We're going to add rotation, and this time the arms are staying low. We push the hips back, we rotate. So we got left leg in front, right arm is going to reach. Left leg in front, right arm's going to reach and rotate. Good. And then the hips come back. 2, hips come back. 3, hips come back. 4, and 5. Remember that big reach we did when we opened the oblique. Obliques are really important because they are the movement between the separation of the upper and lower body. If we can get that separated and strengthened, it's going to play very, very well in most sports. I can't think of one sport where having the ability to do this with freedom and strength and lift and tensegrity. Tensegrity, for those of you that don't know, is lift. It is probably the most significant component of core training that most people and most strength coaches ignore or don't teach in a really succinct way. I do. Push the hips back and rotate. Push the hips back and rotate. Remember, mobility is only part of the story, right? Mobility is getting the body to move the way the body really truly wants to move. And then you have to strengthen it to keep all that movement going the right direction and keeping the body performing the way you want it to perform. Let's go into that really wide stance. Anchor your lower body. That means heels outside of toes. So we're always pushing into internal rotation of the hips. Having internal rotation in your hips will help, again, with most sports, okay? So from right here, keep your knees diving in, push your hips back, and let's just use a little bit of this movement from foundation training. I'm a huge fan of foundation training. I'm a level 2 certified foundation instructor. I've been doing this for over 5 years, so since foundation training hasn't been around much longer than that and accessible to most of us as instructors, I'm probably one of the OGs. Not original, at least first layer, okay? Push the hips back, and we never regretted the decision to go deeper with Dr. Eric Goodman and just keep learning. 3, 4, keep those heels outside of the toes, and 5. Good. So you can see that extension of my spine. This is my spine angle. And if you can't get into that position, just go ahead and let's put the hands behind your head. If you already have a very strong lordotic curve in your low back, this won't feel bad. It's just probably not necessary. 2, pull the ribs off the hips. 3, 4, and one more. Push the hips back. And 5, and good. Keeping the elbows way behind the ears. All right, let's go back into that 90-90 position. We're going to push the hips back. We're going to go into double arm relax, and we're reaching across. And then back, and you can open the shoulders. There's that same reach that we started with. Now we're adding a little bit more mobility, some intent to the movement, all right? So this isn't a stretching class. This is intention in the fingertips. This is intention in the turn. Push the hips back, rotate, and come back. 2, pull the elbows back, 3, 4, and 5, and good. All right, same thing other side. Right leg up. Everything is a big game of add-on. From a former basketball player, I used to love playing add-on. Just where one thing starts the movement, and then you build on it, and you build on it, and build on it, until the whole body is involved in both brain and body. We've got gliding. The nervous system is very upregulated in mobility sessions if you're doing it right. And the body loves things that make sense, right? Okay, nice big chest, a little bit of extension through the spine. Push the hips back and rotate to the side. Doing this from a standing position is very difficult. 2, we don't need difficult on Mondays. 3, 4, and 5. And good. All right. Let's go right back. So there's this understanding that your hips and shoulders should work in conjunction with each other, right? So as we run, this back hip should drop. This side doesn't necessarily elevate, but in relationship to the other one, it does. So as you step, we want this separation of the lower and upper, and then as you step, we want that separation of the lower and the upper. Some of us lose that over time, especially if you're a triathlete, because you're kind of stuck here, and then you get up to run, and all of a sudden this isn't moving, right? So strengthening rotation in the whole body becomes really, really important. All right, so anchor your lower body stance inside of shoulder width. Knees in just a little bit, heels out, toes in. Grab your elbows behind you. All right, so grab your arms, your forearms, and all we're gonna do is go long through the back of the head, chin into throat just a little bit, push your hips back just a little bit, anchor the knees, anchor the ball joint of both big toes, and we're just gonna turn the head to the left and then come back. And then the head to the right and then come back. We're just gonna do a couple each side. Keep the knees anchored in, nice and strong. 2, 2, 3. If you've ever been riding 3 and had to look behind you or running for cars, and you're just like, I don't really want to turn my head. Think about that. We need to keep moving that cervical spine in a really comfortable way. This muscle right here, this SCM, could always use a little bit of love. All right, next one, we're gonna go straight up and then straight down. Straight up, hold that anchor in your lower body. 2, 3, and 4. Good, one more. And 5, and just shake that out. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do here, I had this all planned, yes. Okay, right leg in front of left, anchor your heels. So your heels are outside of your toes, your hips are in internal rotation, same thing in the back. So we've only got 2 points of contact on the back foot, the heel is off the ground. From right here, we've already been here one time, remember the add-on. We talked about how that back hip should rotate into the midline, right into the mid-thigh of the lead leg. This shoulder, because this hip drops, if we're moving well, this shoulder is also going to drop, right? You can see it. Go ahead and practice that. Let the shoulder drop. Doesn't mean you have to jack your shoulders up, just let it happen. Good, gravity should just let it happen. All right, other side, left leg in front. Anchor into the ball joint of the big toe on your left side. As we rotate across, the right shoulder drops. just a little bit. 3. Now, this movement, 4, 5, I've taught enough people how to do this in person and seen them in person to guess that a lot of people are doing this. They're staying up. And this rotation, if this hip drops and these shoulders stay parallel and level, then you're going to start to rotate and side bend through your spine. And so we don't want that. We want your spine to stay nice and straight. So when we take a big breath, pull the ribs off the hips, tip the hips back, push the hips back just a little bit, and we rotate and we drop that shoulder. All that movement comes from the lead hip. And that's really what we're after. Okay? So let's go right leg into left. This is again from foundation training. We're nice and even here. Standing tall. Float the hands to the height of the heart. From right there, we're going to do that little rotation. Watch my left shoulder drop. Just a little bit. Comes right back in. We're loading the right hip. We're upregulating the nervous system into the right hip. Okay? Let's just go 10 of those. Little forward lean. Little bit of 60-40. Now we got more weight on that front leg. Drop that lead shoulder because the back hip's going to drop. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 more. And if I want to add intensity to it, I add intention. Push your fingertips together a little bit. Push hard into the ball joint of the right toe, and you're going to feel that whole right side light up, right? That's magic. That's the good stuff. Okay, left leg in front of right, pressing into that the ball joint of the big toe. Back heel is out. Nice big breath. Pull the ribs off the hips. Float the hands to the height of the heart. Pull the chin back into the throat. Drop that right hip. Down and in, and we load the left hip. Anchor in on that left big toe. 2. Add a little more tension by reaching forward. 3, 4, 1 more. Add intensity to it with a big reach. And come right back out of that. And shake that out. Okay, let's do a little forward fold. We're going to let the spine come out of extension. We're going to let the spine go into flexion. It really loves flexion. We just don't want to live there, right? So it's okay to visit this. It's okay because you have strength in that, right? So as we go nice and wide and we push the hips back, we're into that founder, and then we drop into that forward fold. And some of us might like to have a little bit of lift on that forward fold, and then drop the head and just let that spine flex. At this juncture, go ahead and move your ribs closer to your hips. Decrease the space, right? So here we have lots of space, and we're just going to drop straight down and let the weight of the head just kind of pull into that. And then just little by little come out of that. Let's do 1 more of those. Come into that nice, powerful founder position, into a forward fold, and then just drop into it. And just kind of move around. You want to be like Gumby, but you want to be a strong Gumby, right? I just want to say thank you because a lot of people have joined my premium group from Mobility Monday. I'm really excited to get that group going. I will be doing a demo group. If you're interested, shoot me an email, Aaron@ECFIT Strength. I would love to have you be my guest for 30 days. To all of you that are just consistently here for me, I'm here for you. And let's get it going. We've got some good demo times coming up. If you've got friends that want to join us, you know they will feel better, they'll perform better, they'll just be better. Stronger is better. Take care, everybody.